मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय
असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय
असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय
असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतङ्गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Good evening. So everything is going on well with you all? सब कुछ अच्छा है? Online friends also. So today we could see the sun god. After a week, I think. We say here, Om Shanti 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 thrice. You may have this question, why should we say thrice? Is it not sufficient if we just say Shanti once? Why do we say Shanti thrice? Om, peace, peace, peace. Salam, salam, salam. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Our culture says every embodied creature means every being, any being that has a physical body and a psychological structure, namely the mind, will undergo these three kinds of afflictions. They have classified these afflictions into three: Adhyatmika, Adibhautika, and Adidaivika. What is Adhyatmika suffering or affliction? Affliction that comes to the individual out of his own accord. No extraneous agency is involved. No outside factor is involved. Just, most of the time, if you look at our life, situations happen the way they are destined to happen. People behave the way they are destined to behave, according to their samskaras, their tendencies, according to their temperament, they behave. Most of the times, it's we who take the suffering. And yesterday, one lady came and she was telling me, Swamiji, I am very sensitive. That's why I suffer so much. Then don't be sensitive. Okay? It's as simple as that. You can't say that I am sensitive as a qualification. It's not even helping you, right? You say that because you are hypersensitive, that's why you're suffering. So don't be so sensitive. It should be sensitive only to the extent that is necessary. Hmm? That means in the given situation, because she is hypersensitive, she suffers more than others. Situation is same. She is suffering more because of her own temperament. Okay? Because of her own temperament. So this is called adhyatmika suffering that comes to individuals out of their own accord. Suppose something happens to my body. Okay. Same disease for two people, let us say. You just go and if you want, you can make a study. Disease is same, sickness is same, but one is suffering more than the other. Right? One individual suffers more because he is more attached to the body. An individual who is not so attached to the body, even if the suffering is, physically is really afflicted with a serious disease, but he doesn't suffer much because he's not that much attached to the body. This is called adhyatmic suffering, that we take the suffering upon ourselves, no extraneous agencies involved as such. The first shanti is for this. May I be free from this adhyatmika affliction. This affliction I take because of my own temperament, that comes to me because something happens to my body or mind. Then I take the suffering. The second is Adi Bhautika suffering. Suffering that comes to us from other beings. Other beings could be our own family members sometimes. Sometimes father might abuse you, scold you, you're not doing well. Okay? You're not doing your homework well. You're not showing Shraddha in any kind of work. You're just roaming about. You're idling away your time. Parents, they take us to task. Then we feel the suffering. That is Adi Bhautika, suffering that's really coming from outside. Okay, if they had not intervened, if they had not said what they had said, I would not have taken the suffering. Because they did say something to me, that's why actually pain is generated from within me. This is the second kind of pain is Adi Bhautika, and also pain that comes to us from other creatures. We are not forest dwellers, so we are saved from wild animals. Any wild animals are not there. Suffering that comes to people who are living in forest. It could be an insect, it could be a snake, it could be a scorpion, it could be some other wild animal like bears or tigers. Of course, tigers are very rare now. You can see them only in zoos. The forest, they are not there anymore, except in some biosphere reserves. So suffering that comes to us. For us people who are living in cities, there is this great carnivore. I should say that is mosquito. It's okay. Tigers actually suck the blood, eat the blood of other animals. This mosquito also actually drinks blood from us and makes us suffer so much, right? All these fevers today, now the season started. Rainy season means the mosquitoes. So this suffering that comes to us from other beings, okay, either human being or subhuman species. This is called Adi Bhautika suffering. The second Shanti is for this. May I be freed from this second kind of affliction, the affliction or the suffering that comes to me from other creatures, other beings. The third is Adi Daivika suffering that we have suffered in the last 4 or 5 days, rain. So the suffering that comes to individuals through elements, it could be wind, it could be rain, it could be heat, it could be cold. The suffering that comes to beings from elements is Adi Daivika suffering. So the third Shanti is for relief from this kind of suffering. Adi Daivika. Okay? Swami came from Malaysia. He came via Delhi. He was telling 2 days back, Delhi is 45 degrees centigrade. Here it is rain, and there actually it's hot, so hot. They say perspiring, so much of perspiration because of heat, 45 degrees. Our physical body is structured in such a way, little more heat we can't take, little more cold we can't take, little more rain we can't take. So there are all actually limitations that the nature has imposed upon us. Every creature, for that matter, whichever has a physical embodiment, whichever has a psychological structure, has to take all these three kinds of sufferings: adhyatmika, adibhautika, and adidaivika. So when we say Om Shanti, 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 may I become free from these three kinds of afflictions, O Lord. May my mind be peaceful, may my mind be tranquil, may my mind be composed. Okay? Fear of this suffering only actually agitates us. When you are freed from all these three kinds of suffering, no agitation will happen in your mind. Your mind will be peaceful, your mind will be quiet, your mind will be tranquil. Your own mind is not against cooking, not against you. Nobody is actually poking you from outside. Nobody is abusing you. Nobody is scolding you. Nobody is interfering in your life. That suffering is also not there. Of course, you are freed from the suffering that comes to you from other beings also. You have protected yourself well. Okay, animals sometimes they suffer more helplessly when there are, these elements are in rage, too much of rain. So I saw birds, there are owls are there in Matta. So I saw the last 3 days, so much of cold actually, continuous drizzle. We nicely stay in houses, right? We don't get but the animals, birds, who will protect them? They can't even go out for food because they can't flap their wings in rain. Because the wings, when they become wet, actually they can't open the wings. So much of suffering for them also, poor creatures. They can't build a nest as much as we can build houses. Okay, that suffering comes to every individual, every living creature. Our suffering is comparatively less. Mostly we make our own suffering because God has given a very complex mind, very sophisticated mind. Though everything is going on well, human beings are capable of generating suffering, from within. అంతా బాగానే నడుస్తున్నా మనకు లోపల నుంచి జనరేట్ చేసుకుంటాం. అంతా బాగా నడిచినా కూడా మనకు సమస్య. So we are actually specially designed by the Lord. So we are praying here to the Lord that may I be freed from all these three kinds of suffering. So that's why we say Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. We are saying it not for our own self, for the sake of the entire world. May all the people on the planet be free from all these three kinds of suffering. That's a prayer. No? Thank you. Have a nice evening.